Out here on Lower Cedar Mountain, in the heart of the San Rafael Swell, there is a fallen boulder that most people never notice. It doesn't call attention to itself. It doesn't explain itself. It simply waits. And every time I stand before it, the same question rises. What were they trying to remember? But before we talk about carvings, we acknowledge the place, because the land came first. On one face of the stone, a line of human figures stretch across the desert varnish. Rounded heads, outstretched arms, hands linked in an unbroken chain. These were carved roughly 1,000 years ago. Each peck deliberate, each strike patient. There is no excess here, no ornamentation, just connection. Out here, survival was never individual. Water was shared. Labor was shared. Stories were shared. And so they carved what mattered. Not power, not dominance, relationship. Even now, that chain feels intact. But this boulder is not finished speaking. You have to walk around it. On the other side, the language changes. The human forms disappear. In their place are arches, circles, snakes, rows of carefully placed dots. No bodies, no faces, just pattern, just repetition, just something quieter, and perhaps more difficult to understand. This is not decoration, it is intention. The arches rise gently across the stone. They crest and fall like distant horizons, like shelter, like something overhead. The circles feel complete, contained, whole. They could be seeds, they could be eyes, they could be worlds. And then there are the dots, rows of them, vertical lines, horizontal sequences, evenly spaced, measured, counted. This required attention. This required stillness. Someone stood here long enough to care about spacing, about rhythm, about order. Repetition is rarely accidental. There is a pulse in this panel, and it feels intentional. On one side, hands reach outward, human to human. On the other, patterns repeat, measured, observed. One speaks of community. The other feels like alignment, belonging to each other and belonging within something larger. Maybe these were not separate ideas. Maybe connection was both horizontal and vertical. To survive meant to belong. To belong meant to understand your place among people, among seasons, among forces beyond explanation. Every time I visit this place, it speaks differently. Some days I stand before the chain and I think about the people in my life, about where I've drifted, about where I need to reach back out. Other days, it's the dots that hold me, the quiet repetition, and I think about rhythm, about patience, about how life rarely moves in straight lines. The stone does not change. I do. And somehow it meets me where I am. That is the gift of places like this. They do not give answers. They offer perspective. They knew time would soften these lines. They knew context would fade. They knew language would change. So maybe explanation was never the goal. Maybe remembrance was. Remembering that survival requires connection. Remembering that life moves in rhythm. Remembering that humans are both relational and observant, both communal and contemplative. The chain remains, the patterns remain, the stone remains, still asking the same question: what were they trying to remember? And what do I need to remember today? Thank you for taking this journey with me. And as always, respect the past.